are live. It's episode 38 of the Pitboss podcast, and it is a pleasure to have Rod Merritt, eiderpro.com, coming. I'm going to butcher the name of your town, so I'll let you say.
It's Machias.
East, right?
East Machias. That's right, East Machias.
I was talking to Jeff Wood yesterday. He's from PEI, and we were talking about your area, and I said, man, it is beautiful. I've only been driven. Usually I cut across Route 9 from Bangor over, but man, to take Route 1 up your coastline is beautiful.
Yeah, Route 9, when you go across there, you're only about 25 minutes from the lodge. You're right in my neighborhood. You pass through Washington County, which is the actual county we're in when you go Route 9.
Gotcha.
You probably cross Calais border, don't you?
Yes. No. Saint Andrew.
St. Stephen's, you go into Canada, but on the U.S. side's Calais. That's right in that county.
Okay, copy. Yeah, I guess there's two crossings. I usually hit the one that's kind of, I guess, north of town or just outside town there. Yeah.
The new one out by the Rotary.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. That's been, I don't know. It's, well, I'm going to get off topic. So, first off, because I will get off topic, I got to reel myself back in already. I've drank too much coffee and Diet Mountain Dew today, I guess. But Rod, tell us who you are. I know who you are. Tell everyone who you are, please.
Most people refer to me as Captain Rod in the waterfowl industry. I am the owner and the primary captain for Waterfowl Outfitters, and I also fish kayak tournaments for Johnson Outdoors and Old Town Canoe and Kayak. So I'm kind of an outdoors guy, main state guide, and guide moose hunts. I spent a good part of my life in the outdoors, either on the water or in the woods.
Very nice. So the waterfowl hunting, eiderpro.com, right?
That's correct.
And the name says it all, right?
Yeah, it does. We got the fortunate location that we're right on that U.S. New Brunswick border, like you were saying, and so we kind of get that first flight of eiders, and we're far enough north, so we have resident eiders and we have migrating eiders. So it was logical to emphasize the eiders. I don't know if you only SeaDuck or duck we have, but it's kind of one of our specialties. And
your service you offer is a full service, the hunt and lodging, the entire package, right?
Yeah. And it's a whole lot different than the opportunities you have down with your operation. We're so remote that it's kind of not really logical to do day hunts up here. We do 3-day packages, and people eat Maine lobsters and we spoil them. And my wife has become really quite popular as far as her homemade blueberry pies and raspberry pies. So that's kind of, it's through necessity that we're a lodge, and it's kind of fun to get to know the guys a little bit better because you get to spend time in the lodge with them.
So over the years, the SeaDuck season bag limit it's really changed a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah, I grew up in this part of the world, and I remember when there was massive limits, and things have slowly changed. The whole sport has changed, but really the limit in recent years have gone down. It really hasn't changed the fun though. The sport has changed, but the guys are having just as much fun, the camaraderie, and you still get a fair amount of shooting out there. I know you can kind of sympathize with the guys trying to get the perspective of distance and speed on the ocean. Sometimes it takes them a little while to catch up with the birds. So they usually, unless they're an experienced waterfowl guy, takes them a few shots to get that lead down.
Yeah, 100%. Rewinding back to the big limits. I mean, I can remember ads, I guess like in Wildfowl magazine, like, man, main guides were like advertising like a 21 bird limit kind of thing, because all the different species were broke up, right?
Yeah, and it was incredible, in the day. It's like I said, it's changed the industry from our standpoint as far as bringing hunters to us, and but it also has changed the sport of the thing. It's kind of, I think it's transitioned to more of a trophy hunt, and guys doing something special, and you still can get that nice mounter bird and enjoy the time on the ocean.
I agreed on that for sure. Your style, well, not your style of hunting, but your clientele basically is the majority collectors, then I can assume from what you just said.
Yeah, I get a very large majority of collectors. I mean, we do have the guys that just come up, family group that want to shoot some birds, want to eat some birds, but there's a lot of collectors nowadays. I think that group has definitely increased. People that are being really selective, want that mature bird with really good plumage. That's that's been the biggest change as far as the clientele. But I would have to say it isn't only waterfowl. I mean, you think about it. Back in the day, a guy goes out and shoots any buck that's out there was you whitetail hunting. Now you see more and more guys taking and being real selective on what they get. They want that one for the wall, and that mentality I think has stayed with both the big game industry and the sport and the waterfowl. I don't know if you agree with that, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's I guess, nothing, and I hate to be like the old guy, but I just, maybe, when I was 30 or younger, I didn't realize it, but 30 and older, maybe even into the 40s, like everything is relative. I think, and that's what I really kind of say today. Everything's relative. What you've done, what I've done, what I haven't done, what you haven't done. Like, I mean, here's a good example. And are you big into, do you take seafood for granted?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So we live where it is, like you guys with the crabs, us with the lobsters.
Well, so we love, Karen and I love seafood. We eat seafood a lot, sitting right here on the water. It's about seafood, but it's just not, excuse me. Again, I guess I kind of do take it for granted, in a way. Get somebody from Ohio, man, like the first thing they want, where can we go get crabs? Where can we get clams? Where you have oyster here? Oh my goodness, the kind of thing, right? And fresh, it's relative what is considered to be fresh to them and what would be fresh to me or you, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's funny, you see the guys, and you must see it down there, guys that travel from other parts of the country, Midwest or whatever, they come hunt with you. You get them out there and they actually see where these crabs are coming from, see the commercial guys doing it. And, I do it. And one of my captains, Captain Robinson, he has a lobster boat. Most of the guys in recent years, if we had an opportunity to go on the lobster boat, if they want, when we pick up the fresh lobsters for the lodge, I get them to see where these things come from. I mean, it's, it shocks me. It used to shock me more than it does now, how interested they are in that, because it is so foreign and we take it for granted.
And again, gets back to my point, is like everything's relative, right? That's what's I mean, I went to St. Paul Island to shoot king eider. I had more, well, can't say more fun, but I enjoyed, I was a big fan of Deadliest Catch, and to go down and actually be able to get on these boats and see where, we got to go through the processing plant. That was as every bit as enjoyable and memorable as shooting king eider and harlequin. So it's just, it is kind of funny,
I'll go down a little side path here. I doing the kayak thing. I fished in the kayak classic, which is in conjunction with the big one, with the big boats, and I met some of the gentlemen from Swamp People, and then developed a friendship, and they were amazed at the things that I was interested in seeing. But then I found out how little time some of those characters had spent up in my area, if any at all, and they were trying to talk me into going out and catching some of those big snakes, and I'm like, I'm not interested. And then I told them that we'd take the big old 32-foot duck water and take it out, and we'd go whale watching and be up close and personal with the whales. They'll swim right by us, and they were equally as apprehensive as I was about the snakes. So it was kind of fun. It's all like you say, where you came from, what you used to, and so very similar.
Yep. Rod, I got to tell you, my eyes keep going over your shoulder there. Yeah.
Oh, the mount, yeah, it's a cool mount, and if you look straight on, it's almost three-dimensional.
Yeah.
And you know, the long tails, 3 of them with and it's actually a lighthouse in there. You know, because we hunt on that North Atlantic with lighthouses, and that's actually a picture of one of the lighthouses. And so it was a cool mount. I was actually a surprise by a gentleman that does a lot of my taxidermy out of Duluth, Brad Graber, and he well, I gotta tell you a funny story.
Do it.
Occasionally I'll grill steaks for the depending on what the chefs are saying that they want the next day, and so I was kind of known for doing a pretty good steak, so I decided I was going to grill some steaks, and Brad was here with this. He surprised me with that.
Wow.
Well, I was almost choked up with this thing because it was so beautiful. And I forgot the steaks on the grill. They turned into hockey pucks. Well, this is like 3 years later, and every time that guy talks to me or we talk about food, it's about the hockey puck steaks. It kind of ruined my reputation to the good steaks. So we ended up eating something else that night. So that cost the whole grill full of beautiful steaks right there.
I tell you, like I said, not that I'm not paying attention to you, but my eyes just kind of keep going. I was like, wow, I've seen lots of mounts. People send me pictures. Regular just being online looking at taxidermy mounts, on social media and things. And I don't know. I've seen a lot of flying birds. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that. That's pretty cool looking.
It is beautiful, and as you probably see with your longtails, they do that courtship flight where they're chasing the hen, and that's what that's simulating. It really looks just like it. A couple of drakes chasing a hen, and they're doing the didos up and down, and so it really was well done, and that surprise when you don't know you're getting something like that.
100%.
Yeah, I was choked up. I really was.
You talk about that nuptial flight. One of my, taking a lot of pictures back in the days, and it was 3 drakes chasing a hen, and I just kind of caught them as they all were banking, and it was like it is a really cool thing to see old squall do that for sure.
Well, when we do the first little speech that I do for all new hunters that come to lodge, and I'm sure you do the same thing when you take people out. I talk about the different species and what to look for and identification, and I tell about that flight, and if you see it, what's going on, and it's kind of a random pattern, you don't know where they're going to go. But I also say, God created this beautiful bird that could fly like a fighter plane, swim like a fish, but forgot to teach it how to land. Because guys will shoot at them, and then the bird will randomly decide to land somewhere, and it looked like they died because they just stopped flying and crashed. And then the first time anybody's sitting out there, either in a layout boat or on a ledge or in the boat, and they see it, they're like, "Oh, Captain, I know what you're talking about now. It looked like that bird died, and he's just fine. All he's doing is just landing, but he doesn't land well. Skips lots of times."
100%, man. They just stop. they just stop flying. That is very, very accurate.
Yeah, they don't set in nice and pretty like the other seabirds.
100%. So you mentioned the Duckwater Ocean 32. I happen to be in the outdoor studio today, and right there, I'll sit on the boat lift is my 32, the world's largest duck boat that Steve Hoover makes. I want to get into it. I want to tell a little bit of a story of how I know you, how we met. But I want to rewind a second and say I make it a little bit about Steve Hoover. I owe him a phone call back. I was talking to him this morning. I had like I told you before we started this, man, I have like 22 things going on at once, and I had to take another call, and I dropped Steve. I got to call him back. I'm sorry, Steve, because I told him we were going to do this, so he'll be listening. But I've known Steve probably since about 99 or 2000 back, and was when I sold TDB, the duck boat, for when they were still made in Maine. I sold them for a couple years, and Steve started making his fiberglass boats. And so I've known Steve forever. I've had Steve's number in my phone. We before I had the Ocean, we'd see each other at shows, and I can recall the ODCCA Westlake Decoy Show. like Steve telling me, you're going to be in my boat one day. I was like, I don't know, Steve. I don't know you. I went from, I went from TDB. I went to the Banks 21. You beat me on this though, because I had the first 21 of Banks. I had the first 25, and this happens to be boat number 2. You have boat number 1. And I can vividly remember in January, I'm scrolling through Steve's Instagram, and he shows this picture of the world's largest duck boat. You were in it. You're operating it. It's your boat. I instantly text Steve, like, Steve, what's up with this world? He called me. He's like, man, it's this and Rod Merritt, eiderpro.com. Rod's got the first one. And I said, man, I'd be very interested in, like, I need to know more about this. So he started emailing me. He was kind of giving me all the specs, because I went on the webpage, checked it out, duckwaterboats.com, checked it out. And again, it was all your pictures there of you and your boat. And so that would have been like mid-January or so on. And the first week of February is the Harrisburg Outdoor Show, which Steve was there. I happened to be up there for 2 days. And we started, we talked, and he's like, man, just here's Rod's number. He said, Rod's a great guy. Call Rod up, just talk to Rod. You want to, because I said, if I was going to do it, I need to see one. I said, I just need to get in it, touch it, feel it. I need to get into it. And so I know you'd still really kind of had yours in storage. And I guess I can't remember the exact date, but I will say it was in second, third week of April, probably, that you were kind enough to have me up. And I tell people, I said, man, I just wanted to touch it. And you're like, no, man, we're going for a boat ride. So you launched it, took me for a ride, and it was just, came home to, well, as soon as I got to there that night, excuse me, because I spent the night, talking with Karen, like, Karen, I want to do this, I want to do this. And she wasn't hard to talk her into it, but you're very kind. And again, I tell everybody that you were more than generous to me to spend your time and to take me. Again, I just wanted to look at it, and you were like, no, man, we're going for a boat ride. So talk about the world's largest duck boat. You go now.
Yeah, I will. It was fun, by the way. I'll reflect back on that. It was a pleasure. And I'm not doing this because I'm on your show. You're a legend in the industry. You do a great job in promoting appropriately. And so it was a pleasure for me to.
You're very kind. Thank you.
Well, it's the truth. And then to go out there, I will reflect back on that day before I tell about how I ended up in the 32. We got in it as anybody that hasn't been up here, has massive tides, and the ramp is a challenge sometimes, and I expect to take you for a pretty substantial ride. We were going to go out around a place called Rook Island, out a little bit in the open ocean, and we literally are out there 5 minutes, and you looked at me and he says, I got to have one of these. So it wasn't to sell one, because I get nothing of it, obviously, but it was just a kind of smile. Now reverting back, I had gone from typically what guys have, the typical 21-foot style boats, and we hunt out of layout boats and different things, and a lot of ledge hunting. And so the glass boats don't work as well for us specifically because of the ledge hunting. We literally have to nose these things up on ledges in the North Atlantic. So it really fit our style of hunting better to have something that's a little more substantial and will take a beating better. So I kind of knew I wanted to go with a duckwater style boat, something with some heavy aluminum. And I decided that being in the North Atlantic, being the conditions we have, I'm gonna go as big as I can. And I had seen or heard that Steve had his marine architect do all the stuff and had the drawing done for the 32. And I'm going to point here, like if you could look through that mount out there, the 32 is sitting right there.
There you go.
So it was a big gamble for me, because I couldn't have the advantage that you had of actually feeling, touching, making some nice tight turns, and seeing how easy it was to maneuver, and it was a big gamble. So I knew the 28 performed really well. People were pleased with it. Another 4 feet, and so I rolled the dice, and I said it'll work for me, and so I got it. And I remember traveling to Ohio to Steve's facility, and the thing was done. And I have a 3/4 ton truck. I pull up there, the brand new 3/4 ton Ram, and my wife is sitting on the passenger side. We pull up to this thing on the trailer, and her eyes get like this big, and she says, I think we made a mistake because it's so huge. And then how easy we towed it, how easy it launched, how well it went in the water. We tested it in a lake right there in the freshwater. It didn't take very long to go, oh no, we made a great choice. And then one of the advantages that I didn't expect, I knew it would be seaworthy, I knew it would be strong, I knew all those things, was the performance was exceptional. The turning surprised the crap out of me. And then the one thing that I never calculated into it was where we go on ledges, when you take and the potential of hitting your prop is, because it's a changing field, because that massive tide we have, where there wasn't a rock, 10 minutes ago, there could be a rock there now.
Right.
Where a 21-foot boat, you put the nose against, the guys get on and off, you're 21 feet from shore. With this, I've got a jack plate on it. I've got that nose. I mean, I'm 30 some odd feet back there. So now that less likely, easier to put guys in. I'm a little more relaxed, a lot more relaxed in putting guys in. It is phenomenal for that purpose, on top of all the other benefits. So I couldn't be any more pleased with my decision, and it was kind of a roll of dice, because there wasn't another.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how the first 32 came to be, right there.
That's a great story. And it's maybe just my weirdness. If you said, hey Jeff, Maine and SeaDuck hunting, I think of like a Lund style boat, Alaska Lund, like kind of that style. That is the kind of style boat I think that I would, not that boats are necessarily regional, but the style of gunning, but I would think of like a Lund is that's what I would think of it.
A lot of the guys over the years that are top of the industry use the Lund Alaskan. It's a great boat. It really is. But there are things that this 32 duck water can do, and that even a Lund can't. But I wouldn't take anything away from Lund. It's a great boat. It's a very seaworthy boat. It's very maneuverable. It does a lot of things. But if you tried to take two double layout boats at the same time and 6 guys, I think you'd have a little trouble with any of the other manufacturers.
Yep. So and I'm going to throw this out there. I'm not, my geography, not a this is from my opinion, from my perspective. Once you get to on the East Coast, once you get to New York City north, it is very rocky. There's ledges, there's islands. South, like Long Island in New Jersey south, man, it's flat and sandy. There is no island. There is not. It's not like your style at all of gunning, for sure.
Yeah, and not being experienced where you are, as years have gone by and get to know more people that gun down that way, and other hunters, clients that have been hunting with you, or in what I call the southern region of seabird hunting. They tell me how you have to do it, and you don't have the option of the styles of hunt we have. And tell you the truth, I don't have the options of setting up the way you do because of the massive currents and tides. I think the other day when we were chatting, I was telling about the massive anchors we use on our long lines, and so it's interesting. Here we got the exact same boat pretty much with some minor differences, and they both work so well for both of us, in a different way.
Yeah, 100%. When you brought up your story about Lisa sees it and you're like, oh my goodness, this is, like, what did we do? Right. Each time with when I've made the step up to the bigger boat, I've always kind of thought the same thing of like, are the birds going to decoy as well? Again, my style of gunning is much different than your style. And I want to get into your style of gunning, but I boat hunt, right, all the time. So each step up in size, I was like, is this going to be okay? Is it going to be okay? And I kind of had the same reaction as you drove out New Philadelphia, Ohio, and like it was kind of so big, like the bow was hanging out of the shop when I pulled up, right? And I was like, call Karen. As I was pulling in, I'm talking to Karen on the phone, like, holy moly, Karen, this thing looks big. And I guess if you want to say I was worried when I hooked up to it and towed out, and I'm like, holy shit, this is big. I went down to the lake where I think the lake that you were on, and I pulled. It was I can remember it vividly. I have the picture on my phone, but the trees are just beautiful, orange and all that, and like the boat, I stepped back, kept stepping back, so I could get it all in the phone, and I'm like, holy moly, man! Like what have I done? This thing is freaking huge, and F350 crew cab, 8-foot bed. It's not like the truck is little. And I'm like, man, I'm looking at the boat right now, but I'm like, this is big. So, but I totally agree with what you're saying on size.
You're the only person probably that can sympathize with this, but we call it the traveling circus. Because I've headed out as far as Duluth, Minnesota, out there to the Ultimate Waterfowl Challenge banquet, and I took it all the way out there. I actually towed it from the factory. I picked it up and went straight to that. I timed it that way just to unveil it, and
Sure.
and it was hilarious. We called it traveling circus. I remember particularly one time we stopped at one of the gas station, truck stops, and everybody's coming out to get pictures with the duck water and asking what it is. And finally, all of the cashiers were out there, and the manager steps to the door, and he's screaming at the cashiers to get back in. And so finally, one of the cashiers kind of reluctantly walks back in, and he walks out, and he says, "How am I going to get my picture without?" So that's why we came up with the traveling circus, because you'd be riding down the interstate somewhere, and people would be leaning out the window of and taking pictures of it. And the two things the waterfowl people recognize it as a hunting boat, but a lot of people think it's some sort of military boat.
That's agreed. So let's get more specific to your gunning. Like, when is your season in Maine?
Well, they've changed it as they have pretty much nationwide. This season, we start November 8th and we go to the first week in January. So I think it's January 7th that it ends.
Okay.
And our season now, as I believe yours, aligns with our puddle duck season, our regular duck season. So if you want to get black ducks, which is our primary puddle duck, and some of the other ducks, you got to watch your limits, and the only duck that's outside that combined limit is really the mergansers. The mergansers have their own limit in Maine, and your geese. But basically, if you're coming up to go duck hunting and you want to get a black duck and you want to get anything else, remember, if you're doing some of the stuff the same day, save a couple of ducks from you during that day, that's how we do it now. Last year it was different. You had separate limits for regular ducks, and I think you did too, didn't you?
Yeah, this coming season will be the first year the Atlantic Flyway they did away with the special SeaDuck season. So yeah, our SeaDucks and regular ducks, it overlaps some, but it was basically a straight 60 days for SeaDucks last year. But our regular duck season, we got 3 splits, so it's kind of it'll be broke up. I'm kind of I don't know. I think I'm going to enjoy it maybe a little bit more instead of doing the straight 60 days where we have a week in October, 2 weeks in November, mid-December, the end of January. So if for nothing else, selfishly, especially like those late November and early December dates, I'm planning on going someplace and do, between October and November, we're going to PEI. Prince Edward Island, Canada. I say PEI all the time, like everybody should know what it is, but Prince Edward Island, Canada. And I might try to get to Arkansas, maybe in the second split, possibly. I don't know. We'll see how things work. But what is a typical day? How you, I heard you've already kind of alluded to that you rocks and layout boats, and that you don't hunt from the big boat, the world's largest duck boat. But what's a typical day with you, Rod?
It isn't that we never hunt from it. It's probably the least often we hunt from it. And again, it's a moving target with us. We hunt basically from the New Brunswick border up to Acadia National Park at MDI. And so we have a pretty significant piece of coast, probably down near 100 miles of coast that we go wherever the birds are. So we don't leave the duck water in the water, or the only thing that stays in the water is the lobster boat, and that one there we can move it depending on the conditions and where the birds are feeding. But On a typical day, I look at what people are looking for, because again, trophy hunters, if you're looking for a certain species, they're not always at the same spot. They're not always feeding on the same thing. So if you're looking for white-winged scoters, we might go one place, set up with a layout boat. If you're looking for an eider, you might be in a layout boat. You might be sitting on a ledge where we come in and bring the nose of the duck water up on the ledge, let you off, set your decoys, and then we back off and give you two-way radios. You communicate with us. We're off enough distance so we can watch you, but you let us know when you got birds down, and we come in, scoop them up for you. So those are a couple of the ways. Like I said, yes, big boat hunting is a part of our repertoire, but it isn't our primary like you have to be. Because if you got the ledges, I'm sure you'd use them too. The one of the things that's changed a lot is the primary food for eiders was traditionally the mussels, and our mussel beds have been commercially dragged significantly, and so we don't have those giant mussel beds where it brings 300, 400, 500 eiders right in one flock, right in a little condensed area. Good and bad. We've got what is an invasive species to us, which is the green crab. And so what it's done is spread the birds out a little bit, but that's fine, because you get a flock of 200 birds come in, it really doesn't do you a lot of good. It looks cool, but you can't. It isn't snow goose hunting, And so, but if you get little groups of 8 or 10 coming in at a time, then you really can pick out that trophy bird, get a little more fun. If you got a big group, everybody can get a chance to whack away at birds. So it's not all lost by them not seeing those big giant flocks on one food source. So you kind of have to change as the birds change. And so we do a little of everything. The other thing is we try to cater to as much as possible to the trophy hunter. So I've got guys that go and get their eider, and then we take them off and we'll go black duck hunting in the afternoon if they have a really burning desire to get a real not a hybrid, a full-blooded black duck.
Gotcha. In amongst this, you've referenced it a couple times, and I have had the I guess I'll say the pleasure. I've had the pleasure of experience. I have not shot an eider. I've not duck hunted in Maine, but just over the border, I used to take advantage of the late February New Brunswick SeaDuck season. So the Bay of Fundy, there was a big time tide. It was, again, being here. I mean, shoot, our tide isn't even a fraction. Our complete tide is not a fraction of what your tide is in an hour, right?
Absolutely. If you go on the eastern tide, we basically border the Bay of Fundy, which is the biggest tides in the world. So a 20-foot tide is nothing for us. We have massive tides, and I'll tell you one quick humorous story as a captain and a guide. You'll get a kick out of it. We leave before daylight to go set off like you do duck hunting many times, and so we go to this ramp. We leave, and it was high water, and the water was pretty much level with the so you could look right out and see your vehicles in the parking lot, typical of any other ramp. Well, we go out and hunt, and as it happened, it was low water when we came back. So you got this huge ramp that you're walking up. The float is so you get this 45-degree angle you're walking up. We get there, and one guy says, "I'm not getting out here. My truck isn't here." And I'm like, oh yes, it is. And I literally had to tie my boat up, walk up, and point at his truck. And you see this confusion in his eyes.
Yeah.
It looks so different. So the changing landscape, the currents, the tide. It's a very unique place to guide and hunt. That I'm not going to say it takes special skills, because I'm sure you as a captain come up here in no time and you'd be adapting to it. But it is something that for the novice is a learning curve.
Oh, 100%. I totally agree with that. But it is, and for those that don't know, I mean, like you're saying 20 feet. I can say that the areas that we gunned in New Brunswick was like a 33, 35 foot tide. And in an hour's time, that's 6 feet of water. Like you're sitting there on the rocks, like watching the water. And the guys, we went with two different guys, guides. Well, yeah, it's another story about guides and guide licenses in New Brunswick. You can't hunt. I can't go there and hunt. You have to hunt with a guide. They have two different guide licenses. One's the guide can shoot with you, the other he can't. So anyway, long story short, and I agree with them. They like to hunt the incoming tide. So it is all about hunting the tide. And it's more of that. Basically, you're kind of like constantly pulling the decoys with you as you're climbing up the rocks, kind of thing. But I mean, you're sitting there on the rocks, and you can see that the water is rising very quickly.
I've had more guys in that first speech that I do in the evening in the lodge the night before the first hunt. I tell the guys, keep your stuff. If you're setting on a ledge, keep it behind you. I try to put it right directly behind you so you bump it if you get up, because you're going to have to move. And again, they're trying to absorb all this, and if they haven't seen it, it's so foreign to them. Because I've seen, a brand new Benelli under 1.5 foot of water, salt water, because somebody just sat there and they're eating their sandwiches, talking, and the next thing you look down, the shotgun's under the salt water. So that's something you have to be aware of, and so you need to be prepared for that. So it's something that no place else on the East Coast you're going to have to worry about, but here you do.
100%. West Coast, my story would be, and it's partly my fault, partly not my fault, but we set up on a shoreline, wasn't really that good. So they had mussel cages. So they have like floating cages that have nets in them, and that's where they grow their mussels, right? So we went out, we shot around these mussel farms, the mussel cages, and the tide came back in, and I came back. Water was crystal clear. I came back in, and about 3 feet down there's $5,000 worth of a Canon camera and lenses sitting on the bottom. I'm like, holy moly! But I did have an Arcos policy, and they were insured, so kind of it ended well. But still, it was definitely a shocker.
I got to tell you something else too. I mentioned several times the kayak thing. I started in the puddle duck season and playing around just personally and playing with the kayaks with the pedal drives. You see pedal them, and they I mean, it's silly how easy it is. And I'm sitting here going, this can't be legal. I'm like, I'm doing something wrong. So I literally called the local wardens from the Maine Fish and Wildlife, and they're going, no, it's human powered. So I says, well, it's got to be federally a problem. So I called the federal wardens, which are based in Bar Harbor, and they said the same thing. No, as long as it's human powered, you're good. It's like sculling. Oh my God, it's like cheating. It's like cheating. So I've played around a lot with that, and it's a blast. If you haven't had a chance to do it, because I've got pictures of me literally pedaling up, and you throw something over your legs so they don't see the movement.
Sure.
So I like sculling, and a flock of eiters is feeding, and they'll separate and let you go through them. And it's like, this is nuts. This is absolutely nuts. I said, this has got to be illegal, but it isn't. It isn't. So it's kind of cool though to play around with stuff like that.
All right, this question is self-serving. You mentioned Arcadia National Park. Is Cadillac Mountain worth checking out and seeing?
Yes, it is. It really is. National parks, we have a lot of them. As far as visited parks, it's number 2 to Yellowstone. So that kind of gives you, it's very congested. Route 3 is the only way in and out off the island. There's a lot of people. I'm talking millions of people go there during the summer. It is a beautiful place, breathtaking. You get that elevated position on top of the mountain. You can drive to the top, and you see this panoramic view and when you're looking off there, a lot of that is my area where I hunt.
Gotcha.
Is the distance. I don't mean right at the park, but I mean off in the distance, you're going to see for miles and miles these little islands, and that's my stomping grounds.
I can't say it's the only reason that I want to go there, but I've been telling Karen this, and she's now, since I've told her she wants to go, but it's the first place in the United States where you see the sunrise. Because you're up so high. It's the first place that's going to get sunlight on it.
Well, I always tell my hunters, when you're laying in the layout boat or in the duck water and you see the sunrise, you're the first duck hunter in the United States to see the sunrise. So same. If you do come, and this isn't because I'm on your show again, I've probably extended this invitation before. You and Karen come, and we'll go out in the duck water, and we'll go play with the whales. We'll go out and have a lunch and go for a ride and see some whales.
She would enjoy that, I know for sure. Unfortunately, Cadillac Mountain, unfortunately for me, man, like it's always, they close it in the winter. you know better when they close it, but I guess basically just because icy conditions. I guess it
That's
is it's a pretty steep road to get up there, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So I've just the times that I've well, the first time I attempted it, I learned I just thought show up and go up and do it. And they're like, nah, it's closed.
That's close.
That wasn't that kind of bothered me. Hey, back you mentioned the green crabs. I've seen some crazy. We use them here for fishing too.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's some walking around somewhere, but I've seen, and I would say like maybe Massachusetts north, where like there's I'd call it a tump, but let's say a marsh that these things have just eaten totally underneath. Like there'll be a picture of a guy taking a shovel and like opening up the ground, and they're like termites. They're just everywhere. I don't see them like that down here.
We haven't got it like that yet, but it has grown exponentially. I'm a little concerned because you got a fragile ecosystem, and that's why I think having the local species, the sea ducks and such, starting to feed on them is good, because at least they have a predator, and so. But yeah, we've seen a huge increase because they weren't native here. I think what happened, if I'm not, and I'm sure some biologists will correct me on this, but my understanding is they were originally an Asian species, and they were brought here for bait purposes. And like any fishermen, they just, when they're done, they throw them overboard or lost them, and they took hold. And so they're here. We got to deal with it. It is a little bit of an issue with our clam industry, because the clam industry is pretty substantial here in Massachusetts, and I guess they do affect that,
Mm-hmm.
So there are people concerned here about them, but there's not a lot we can do. And it's funny because these commercial fishermen that fish lobsters and conventional crabs to eat, they're trying to find a market for these things, because they will trap well. So if they find a substantial market for them someday for some purpose, I think we could probably at least control the population.
Sure. Let's see. The ultimate waterfowlers challenge. What's your association with them?
Just I enjoy them. They donate a substantial amount of money for hunts for veterans, and I like that, of course.
Sure.
Big into patriotism and owe it all to our veterans, and so
100%.
that drew me to it. The other thing was, I think it's just a blast, because the objective of this thing is to get all 41 game species in North America of ducks, mostly the drakes. There are a couple species where you really can't tell the difference, like black duck.
Sure.
And so they count either one in that. But the ones that are obviously different, like the eider, only the drake counts. So they're looking to get one of that, and then they move on to one of something else. It's a fun game. It's a big reward at the end. It's a huge accomplishment. I mean, I had a guy that's become a friend out of Florida, and Greg Carpenter, and he got his 41st this year. And I mean, I was choked up just watching him because it's a lot of work. Mm-hmm. You spend a lot of time out there to get all 41. And so,
a little bit of money too, possibly.
Oh, a whole lot of money. You travel a lot, and just because you go somewhere that has a certain species doesn't mean you're going to get it.
100%.
If they're not flying good that day or days, you just don't. You know how that works. They're wild game, and so I really like the organization. I like what they stand for. I think our kids, our grandkids, will still have ducks if the more people that like doing things like that. Everybody doesn't have to be out there for one bird, but I'm saying, I still want to eat birds, but this thing doesn't hurt. It really is a good thing. I see a lot of fathers that have accomplished it, that are bringing their sons along now to see how many they can get on the list. It's a cool thing.
100%. And speaking of that, kind of segue into what, like, you've kind of sort of talked a little bit about it, but what are rank for me the species? I know you get a good variety, but like kind of rank the species in the populations. What you have the most of, and work down.
Well, the eiders are is a big one. We have, like I said, resident population, and we have migrating. We have a ton of these cats right here behind me.
I'm gonna stop you 1 second. So, eider, do you see many kings?
We don't. I don't think anywhere on the eastern seaboard you do. You see occasionally. About every year, I lay eyes on one. Not this year, but last year. Well, yes, it was the last season we had, the 2021 season. I was sitting in a place, had people on a ledge. A group of ducks came in, a pretty substantial group. They shot her and they veered off and they went right by me. And like the length of the duck water boat, right beside the flock, was part of the flock originally. Here's this full bloom king, and I'm like, oh man, is that beautiful? And they didn't recognize it. I'm sure they would have tagged it.
Oh yeah.
And so yeah, we see them just like you do. It's not a common thing, but we do see them. I never encourage anybody to come here for the purpose of getting one, because I don't have a huntable population.
Gotcha,
really.
Gotcha.
There's a few spread here and there like you have. I believe you wouldn't encourage somebody to come to Maryland looking for a king.
I wouldn't encourage them to come to Maryland and shoot an eider, period. I have guys ask that, and there's some years that we do, some years we see many, many more. We have shot some drakes before. This past season, 2 seasons ago, we did shoot 2 first-year king drakes, and you could definitely tell them that that's what they were. But yeah, I mean, that's just it's like winning the lottery kind of thing, right? You're just it's not going to happen kind of thing.
Yeah, you need to go somewhere else if you're going to target that specific species. Yeah, so we have a lot of old squaws, and we have a pretty substantial population.
What's an old squaw? I thought
long-tail.
A long-tail. Okay, a long-tail duck. I got you.
Okay. I know. I get it.
I still call them old squaw too. So I'll just mess with you.
I know. I do the same thing. And then we have all 3 species of scoter,
right?
Surfs, white wings, and your common or black scoter. Your black scoter, it's funny because the local terminology, they always, the old fishermen and the old guys, they always call them coots. And we don't have coots. We don't have American coots yet. And I laugh because we'll stop at a little convenience store or something. There'll be a couple of old lobster fishermen in there, and they'll say, "Oh, you guys out coot hunting?" and if I say yes, I have to look at my hunters and go, let them. It's the local dialect and terminology. They always call them coots. But when I was young, the black scoters, the common scoter, we shot a lot more of them, but it was because the season was earlier. We had a very, very early season. They migrate through here. So out of the 3, that's the one that is least consistent for us, where you could probably kill a black scoter every year. And with me, I think they get to you more consistently. I get kind of the tail end, and I think you have a lot better chance to get a black scoter, Massachusetts South. That's my opinion. But yeah, we have all 5 of the what I call the East Coast sea ducks, and I don't count but I would say 75% of the people come for an eider, but more and more of these guys that are trophy chasing. I've got to put here on the wall beside me a beautiful mount of, believe it or not, of a red-breasted and a common Merganser drake, and you can't imagine this ultimate waterfowl challenge, because everybody that's waterfowl hunted their whole life has shot Mergansers. It was partially from boredom. The birds aren't flying, the Merganser comes in, whack, he gets it, right? And so nobody concentrated on decoys or their feeding habits. They just were there. And you talk to people, they go, "Oh yeah, I'm going to get my Merganser easy." Well, nobody knows how to hunt them. So I've had to kind of spend a fair amount of time the last 2 years in figuring out where the heck these things are and actually get some decoys. If you let me step away, just for 1 second, I'm gonna
do it. Do it. Do it.
I'll be out of the camera view, but I can still hear you. I'm gonna grab something.
It's all good. I had to get up earlier and let the dogs back in. Two of them were out here with me.
No, I just want to show you these.
Yep.
These are cool.
Very nice.
See the
Yeah.
One of my hunters did these for me. He's a guy that does it just for enjoyment, and so he killed his. He was part of the ultimate waterfowl, and this is the Dray.
Very nice.
And so, and he made these beautiful foam decoys, all hand done, and so he killed his over it. By the way, Mergansers will decoy well, and so it's something that's kind of fun. And being a fisherman, any fish eating duck, they're my nemesis.
So speaking of that, little, just don't not take you off topic, but do you get many cormorants there?
Oh, a ton.
Okay. Wasn't sure.
The rivers, the estuaries are full of them. And probably I'm not going to be very popular amongst the, but when I was a young man, I used to Atlantic salmon fish a lot, fly fish. And it used to be legal that they would give permits to shoot to reduce the population of cormorants in these estuaries where the young salmon were coming out. And that's how I learned to be a good shot, I think, because the salmon clubs would buy us young guys shotgun shells. If you could hit, you'd be sitting on the bank and you'd be shooting these cormorants, and they're flying by, and all of a sudden a brand new box of shotgun shells would be sitting beside you because you were taking care of them. And we never had a shortage of them. You will never get rid of them. I just think controlling them a little bit might be. I mean, I have all the respect in the world for our biologists. They overall do a great job, and there's a reason. But man, I'd like to see that population here, because we're seeing them in the little beaver fluidages and the little ponds, and clean up on trout and all the other species of fish, and to control them a little bit wouldn't be a bad thing in my opinion.
Gotcha.
But that's neither here nor there. That's just my opinion. You
said fish eater, so I had to bring that up real quick. Pottle ducks. You said black duck is your top bird. What follows after black ducks?
We've got unfortunately we're getting more and more and it sounds funny when I say unfortunately, because my hunters joke with me, is mallards. We're getting more and more of them, and I don't want to see them because they interbreed with our black ducks.
Yep.
And I don't want the hybrids. I'd rather see a place you can come and still get a pure black duck. And that we have both the blue wing and green wing teal. We have a real good population of wood duck. We get an occasional pintail. We get a few bluebills. Scops. We get them. We have a good cross section of ducks. And just like anywhere else, migrating species, the early season will have something a little different than the late season as you go on. The one thing that we find is the ones that hang around late. I have a trick that people below me don't have the opportunity. Is these ducks that are fish eaters or diving ducks? We get an ice flow that comes out our estuaries. That the ice is here and it goes from there to the shore. If you set up right at the edge, that's where the birds are going to be. Like a good example would be Merganser, but any of the diving ducks. And so this ice flow works as a benefit. We'll set right up around the edge of it, and you literally can set somebody up on shore and they'll go, "You got put your decoys out?" I says, "I can if you want, but you don't need them." The birds are going to come, because they want to get the fish that's under that ice, and they can't live under the ice, and they can't dive through the ice, so they have to keep coming back and forth. So this is where they land, and they feed right on that edge.
Here's I'm going to turn it back to myself for a second. If I tell you, I want to know how much of a tourist this makes me. If that I plan my travel north, definitely north and sometimes south through Maine, when Bob's Clam Hut's going to be open.
That doesn't make you a tourist. That means you have good taste. It means you have good taste. You like to eat.
I mean, for living in Maryland, I've eaten. I should count. It probably wouldn't be hard to figure it out. I've eaten at Bob's Clam Hut quite a bit. It's 9.5 hours away from me. So, but
if you do stop in to stay a night or two with Lisa and I, we'll make sure you guys get some some clams right here. We'll do a big clam bake right here at the lodge. And
Thank you. Very kind.
it's funny. You know how this is funny. You know, I wish I had a picture you could throw up. You know how down south they have the shrimp boils or the crawfish boils?
Yep.
Well, we have our version, but we do it with Maine lobsters, and we'll do like 100 pounds of lobsters at a time, and have this big thing. We do a bonfire, get it down to a bed of coals, cover the bed of coals with a layer of seaweed, turn around, put clams, corn on the cob, lobsters, cover it with another layer of seaweed, and then put a canvas that we've dipped in the ocean with salt water over the whole thing, and the whole thing steams. You flip it off, take a pitchfork and throw the hot seaweed off, and the steaming thing of seafood is there. That's our version of the southern crawfish boil.
That's steaming awesomeness, is what it sounds like to me.
Oh, it is. It's great. It's kind of a fun thing. It's a local thing. It's just fun.
Circle back to birds. You had said you don't have the mussel beds quite that you did, so you don't see the big rafts of eider. What do you think the state of the eider population is?
It's harder to get a count because of the I don't think that what they were. I'm a proponent of the fact that we need to trust the biologists that they're down a little bit, you know. So I do think that we need to make sure we take care of our resource, and they're far from in trouble, but I think we need to be cautious and make sure that we manage them properly, because unlike puddle ducks, where you can make more nesting habitat by making more wetlands, the nesting habitat for our seabirds are set in stone, and so they can produce what they can produce, and so we need to make sure we listen to the experts, and I think we are down a little bit. That's
well, that I guess two Februaries ago. You know, COVID wouldn't helped it out anyway, but the season, well, it would have been right before COVID. That was the last season for the New Brunswick eider, and special. Excuse me, it's the special SeaDuck season, which basically it's just eider. But Jeff from PEI, we talked about, he and I had hunted New Brunswick in February one time. We talked about maybe trying to do it, and just couldn't really find anybody to take us, because they were saying that there really weren't as many eider, as what was.
Well, and I don't want to second guess anybody else, because there's some great hunters and guides in that area. But one of the things that I've seen here is people that aren't willing to change with the food choice, the change, have struggled killing birds because they go back to their old stomping ground. If you grow a cornfield and you hunt deer over that cornfield, and they don't grow corn there anymore, probably you shouldn't hunt that piece of land. You should probably move somewhere else where there's food. Well, this green crab thing has made it so places that I never saw eiders in my life, never saw them. Now there's eiders there in huntable numbers, but some of the old stomping places, there are few to none. So I think it's transitioned some in the hunting part of it. And some guys look out and they go, there should be 100 eiders right there, and there isn't. And I think a lot of that is a food source change. It isn't everything, but it does impact the perception of the birds to the guy that's hunting. He had the place that his grandfather took him, and his father took him, and those aren't necessarily good places now.
Understood. I have a question for you about your main. Well, is the word master in your guide's license?
Yeah.
So it's
registered guide.
That's it. That's
registered
it. Okay. I was going to say, I was going to try to say it exactly the way it was. I remember, I couldn't remember 100% there, but so your license, like, from what I'm told, you can tell me yes, no, correct. But I mean, like, when you get that license, it's a guide's license for any type of hunting that you could do, right? So you have to, like, I'm just interested in sea ducks, but like you have to know the regulations for, let's say, a moose, like that it's moose and bear and everything else that someone could hunt, right?
Our license is far from a gimme. It's funny because I go to places where you just go buy it like you would a fishing license. you know, in other states.
That's 100%. I was going to say that's all it is I write a check. That's basically the requirement. Do I have the money to pay?
With us, we have background checks. We have extensive written tests of the laws and things, and then you turn around and you do an oral board from anywhere from 3 to 5 people that normally would consist of somebody in law enforcement, some experienced master guides that have been around for years, and so on. And they put it to you. I mean, they'll take it. They'll have little swatches of either feathers or fur, and you'll get to touch it and go and look at it and go, what animal or bird did that come on? And then they'll have pictures on the wall, and maybe just a silhouette of a waterfowl, and go, is that something you can show? And on and on and on. And you have it's an extensive thing about handling emergencies and how you do it. And they put it to you, and it isn't. It's far from a gimme. A lot of people fail it multiple times before they go back and actually get it. So you can't just, you got to study for this thing, and I think it's a good thing. I really do, because yeah, it's a pain in the butt when you try to get it, but on the other hand, you know, you're in some big woods up here, and if you're out there, you want to know this person knows what they're doing. They're not going to get in trouble. If something bad happens, they know how to handle it. And so these are important things. And I think overall, the Maine guides have a good reputation nationwide. Overall, I mean, I think it's been good, and most states recognize us as far as if I want to go get a guide's license. A lot of states will take my fact to get a Maine license, and I want to get it. They'll instantly, you can get it.
Yeah, your Maine license does mean something. The story that I was told, and again, just secondhand, but a good friend told me the story. He likened it. It was harder to get that license than for us to get our captain's license. He's like, and I studied. I mean, to me, the captain's license was a test, right? He's like,
oh, yeah, sure.
He's like, it's harder than that. It is.
Oh, it's significantly harder. Significantly.
Yeah. His example was basically he wanted to guide waterfowl, and his example was, I had to know on September 25th in zone 3 what moose could I shoot. He's like, you know, what does that mean to me, man? Like, he's like,
they don't have any specialties at all, and yeah, it's the real deal. It really is. If you watch Naked and Afraid,
yes,
okay, they had a guy that was a Maine guide on there, and I believe he was in Florida. And this guy, by the time he was done, he'd caught alligators and catfish and all this stuff. And you know how they have how much weight they'd lost. I don't think he lost any weight, and he's like offering the cameraman jerky on the way out, and laughing.
I did not see that episode.
Oh yeah, you gotta Google it and find it. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I didn't see that one. And maybe, you know, my September 25th for a moose in zone 3 is not that's not accurate, but that was the analogy is. It's tough, man. Like, and it happened to be something that he had no interest in, you know, like I'm not going to go shoot a moose, or I'm not going to guide. Not that he wouldn't shoot a moose. I'm not guiding moose. Right. That's not what I'm doing.
Yeah. You know? No, and I'm a good example. I'm on the ocean, but I also moose guide. So, you know, but I don't, a lot of other things I don't guide, but I still had to know actual license. I can guide trappers, and I don't, I don't do that, you know, so it's pretty extensive, and it's challenging, but it's rewarding when you get it done. It means something when you put the patch on your shoulder.
Yeah, 100%. That was I totally agree with. Again, I was told the story. I believed the story that I was told, but I just wanted to ask you just to see if, like, what your version, what your take on it was. That's all.
No, it's a real deal. It's a real deal. For sure.
So, are you gonna get hold of Steve Hoover and tell him that he needs to make a larger duck boat?
I don't know. I think 32 is enough, but you never know. You never know. They thought I was crazy when I bought that one, as probably people thought you were. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I never say never. I don't know if Steve has any plans for a 34 or 36 or not.
I had somebody tell me they were going to get Hoover to put a pulpit or something on it, just so they could, so it would be longer.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I said, everybody was joking because, when you were telling about world largest duck. He says, go ahead and just weld a little something right on the tip of it.
Yeah. I use that saying. I mean, I say it all the time, and people. So you again, I'll say you have hull number 1. I have hull number 2. There's a hull number 3. So it's when I say it, I'm not really referring. First off, it's just well, and first off, it's Steve Hoover's. That's where I learned it from. He said, "This is the world's largest duck boat." So I keep going on with it, but people sometimes think that this mine is the only, and it's not. There's at least you had number 1. This is number 2, and there's at least number 3, if not 4.
I know you're host. This is your show and you host it, but I want to ask you a question. Were you impressed with the turning of that thing? Because I expected it to turn like a barge, and it doesn't at all with mine.
No, and it's really so a little bit of the history on I don't know all the lines that Steve produces, duckwaterboats.com. Hal Whitaker happens to be the naval architect that it's a computer designed boat, right? And he's right in Annapolis, Maryland. So there was something I wanted to change, and I called Hal, and he can do he's a very intelligent guy. And I told him I had some, I guess I'd already gave Steve the deposit because I wouldn't have not got in touch with Hal before that. But I did kind of riddle him on some questions, and he was not that he shouldn't be proud of it, but he was pretty proud of like how it's made, the design of it, and he went through a lot of the different features of it.
He was actually videotaping when I was testing around that lake, and you can hear him in the background just like a little kid at Christmas. It was like, look at that thing go, look at that thing turn, and you could tell it was genuine. It wasn't any big ad. It was just he was impressed with how good I was. I come back with a big grin on my face. And by the way, I'm sure somebody's gonna notice my accent.
What accent?
Yeah, what accent?
What was I gonna say? Oh, so this past season for me in the 32 was it the 3rd year. And season number 1, I'd tell Steve, I've never taken a wave over the bow in the ocean. Season number 2, I could say the same thing. And about halfway through last year's season, I actually called Steve and told him, I was like, Steve, I always told you I've never taken one over the bow. Today I took one over the bow. So
did you really?
I really did.
It was standing up, huh?
Yeah, it was just a big swell. Well, kind of breaking a little bit, but it was a big swell. But they were like just really close together, and it was. I mean, I'm an old guy, man. Like I just putt around. It wasn't like I was going fast, but it was just trying to get back to the decoys, and like one actually came over the bow, and I was kind of shocked actually because it's got a big old. I'm looking at it. It's got a big old bow on it,
Oh yeah, no, I've never had that happen, and it maybe do like you say the frequency of the wave. How close together they were, and I think down there, and you're not far from the Chesapeake where you're and you have some big long flats, don't you? The shallow water that you're hunting in sometimes.
Well, so the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay is got to be a good. I should know the exact mileage, but it's a good 150 miles south of Ocean City, so it's still a ways down. But the big thing is, again, like I said about from my definition, from New York City north, how rocky it is, and from New Jersey, Long Island, New Jersey south, it's flat and sandy. When we go out the inlet, there's no question that we're in the ocean. It is the ocean, and there's nothing else out there. And
I think it stands up more for you guys than it does us in some places because I think we're probably a little deeper, quicker. I'm guessing.
Well, that and it just really kind of depends too, like what the winds. Are there any storms offshore, and what the wind does. I always say wind makes waves, and it's just, if you could have a northeast breeze, that it would be big. When I say breeze, I mean northeast. It's 10 knots, 10 to 15 knots. That if it's been doing that for 24 hours, there's probably a pretty good wave out there versus if you had northwest that is blowing 20 to 30 knots, like it's almost right off the beach. It's almost flat just because of, the way the wind works, so it's really all about, like, in my opinion, it's kind of what has it been doing, prior and what's I'm more concerned about the wind direction.
Where wind direction is 90% for us. The other thing is with us, because of the massive water movement with the tide, our bays, people perceive the state of Maine, the coast being north and south. It's really east and west. The coast is, so all the bays set north and south, the series of bays. And so a southerly wind is our nemesis. coming straight in from the ocean up the bays. Well, if you have an outgoing tide and that southerly wind, it will stand up. So I've been hunting with guys before, and I'll say, we got to go. And they'll say, oh, it doesn't look that bad, Cap. And I says, it will in about 20 minutes. By the time we pick up and get you ashore, you will not want to be out here. And sure enough, sometimes I'll take them so peek around the corner, so to speak, so they can see it afterwards. And they go, how did you know that was going to happen? Well, a lot of years of being on this, and it's that tide against the wind in those bays where it's shallow, and it will stand up. So, that knowledge of that keeps you out of trouble. And the one thing I always tell everybody, no duck's worth dying over. And so as big as the 32 is, the Titanic went down
100%.
So you got to use respect with Mother Nature in the North Atlantic.
With your SeaDuck hunting, have you ever used dogs?
Yeah, it's very rare, and I don't generally. He's around here. He's a fox red lab. I use him more for just puddle ducks, retrieving, gotcha. Mallard and black ducks. The style of hunting we do, it's more for show. If you do it because you're in the boat, the birds, you just ride in and get it. So the short answer is no, really. I have just to get some pictures. If a guy wants to bring and get pictures with and it happens often, sure. Guys will bring their dog and would like to get a picture with them retrieving. I have the dog platform on the 32 just in case, and we have places where you can put them on ledges. I'll tell them places if they specifically want that. There are places I get where the current isn't so extreme that the dog will get in trouble, and if that's the case, I always hang close by in case the dog gets in trouble. I can get the dog safely. So sure. It isn't really necessary as far as seabird hunting.
Gotcha. And kind of where I was sort of going with that question is, do you get white sharks?
Yeah. Not during the duck season. I haven't seen one, but this time of year when we're out cruising around, there'll be some of the great whites out there.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, I know something that surprises a lot of the guys. I'm sure you see the same thing. We have a lot of seals, and when they pop up in the decoy rig, the guy's like, "What is this?" Especially when they're in a layout boat and they're looking face to face with a seal.
Yeah, we don't. It's a big deal here to see a seal. We just don't see that many of them. But quick little anecdotal story. What's that? I'm sorry.
We see them all the time. They come up and they'll actually. I had one last year just bumping the decoys. He was inquisitive and he kept looking at the decoys and the guys were videotaping it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My quick little story is it was SeaDuck hunting, and it was way out, actually east of Rimouski, Quebec, on the St. Lawrence, and we were shooting eider. It was in October, shooting eider. There was quite a few eider there, and my old dog Coot was retrieving them, and she came back with one and had a seal pop up. I think it was like kind of winding her, kind of thinking like, what's going on? They never made contact or anything, but the seal did pop up while she was retrieving an eider.
Our seals will take a crippled bird. We lose several birds a year to seals, and that's why we try. The guys, like if the birds are flying good and we're in the boat and they're on a ledge and they get birds down, I say you can let the birds lay there, but if there's a seal in the area, call us to get it, or you have to lose your bird because sure. The seal will take it. So they will take down birds here.
Is there any? Look, well, I was going to ask you about you're guiding much like you are guiding like me. No, well, not like me, but we're guiding. So I don't get to shoot. I was going to ask you, is there a specific main hunt that you were on and or that you guided on that is something that stands out in your mind when you were SeaDuck hunting, whether it's you SeaDuck hunting yourself or a guided trip?
Oh man, as you can, you know why I'm laughing right now. There's been hundreds of them, and
how about a story? How about a story? How about something that you can tell?
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's what I'm saying. Not something you can't tell. How about something you can?
Oh man, I don't know. I'm trying to think of specifically. Most of them I can't tell the story.
Understood. Okay.
it's usually something that is profanity involved in.
Understood.
I do. It's a um, trust your guide story.
Trust your guide story.
Trust your guide story. I've learned that a long time ago hunting myself, like you have in different places around North America. Is you hired the guide for a reason. You got to trust him, and even if you think you know, you might not. I've been on the opposite side of that and thought, and then through observing through the day, oh, this guy really knows what he's doing. Well, I had a day where we couldn't get out to our best spots, and this particular gentleman was insistent that we go to the spot that he knew of, that he had hunted before, and the other guys were not being very kind and trusted my judgment.
Right.
Finally, it was late in the season. I was probably my tolerance for things probably weren't where it ought to be, and I says, I went right in and I says, you in the boat with me, the guy, and so he hopped in. I says, we're going out and check this just in case. We rounded a point, and within a minute and a half, he was laying on the deck crying like a baby and said, Captain, take me back. And I said, you sure? Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure? I took you back. He came and apologized to me afterwards, and it was like, I don't, I want you to have a fun hunt. I want you to get birds. If it was safe and logical to take that whole group out there, I would have. And he says, now I trust you. But that was probably a bad choice on my part. I didn't put him in any danger, but it was sloppy enough so that a novice was very impressed with how much the 32 would take.
At the very least, you made your point with him, right?
Yeah, probably not appropriately. I wouldn't do that to everybody, but the SeaDuck last year before last, I got it a moose hunt that turned out being pretty incredible. It was a 50+ inch bull, and I called him in within 15 yards, and it was exciting, was to say the least. He was. Mm-hmm. I challenged him with calling, and he was blocked, so I couldn't see. Husband and wife did a great job.
Nice.
And called him in, and that was something that was memorable right there in the hunting field. In the SeaDuck world, there's 1,000 of them, but wow, the seal stories, like you said, the guys calling up all panicked, and they think a seal's a great white because they've never seen anything alive in the water that big, because they came from the Great Lakes, so inland, and just never seen the big things that are in the ocean.
It's all relative. It's all relative.
I've seen guys, get me out of here. I'm like, it's not a great white, it's just a seal. He isn't going to bother you.
Rod, how does someone get a hold of you? What's the best way for them to contact you to book a hunt?
Yeah, you can go to idapro.com, the website. Best thing to do is call me. It's 207-598-8511. It's on the website. Don't hesitate to call me. I don't mind getting calls. I'll talk hunting with you. You can ask me a million questions. There's no dumb question. If we haven't talked about it here today, we'll talk about it with you. People ask the same thing they do you, Steve, sure, about the shot size and all the other things. I got a question for you. I know you want to end shot size. What do you say?
Smaller's better.
Same. Okay. Just want to make sure we're on the same path.
I like a better pattern than larger shot.
Shot density, get that headshot in there.
Yep, 100%.
Great.
100%.
207-598-8511. I'm on Facebook. I'm on. I have a website, just idapro.com. Feel free to call me, even if you're not going to book a hunt and you want to ask something about it. I don't mind. You're
on Instagram too.
I'm on Instagram too. I put a lot of just stuff up there, just fun stuff. But yeah, you can see me on Instagram too. You follow me out there bass fishing. I'm out there trying to do a good job doing that. A lot of fun, and but we'll enjoyed this call with you.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I'll get you. I will get you back on again. We'll talk some fishing next time. How about?
Yeah, that'd be a blast. That'd be a blast. I'd like
just-
to. I'd like to ask you some questions about your saltwater skills because I guarantee you can kick my butt at that.
I don't know. I used to guide fishing. Some people know it, some people don't. And it's tough, man. Like we have a flat fish called a flounder, right?
Yeah, we have them.
Okay, like a halibut, same
Yep.
same thing, right? They're just laying there, two eyes are on one side of the face. And that's a predominant fish here that you could catch. Maybe not big ones, but at least it's catching, right? It's not fishing, it's catching. And the first thing I would do is when I get a bite, a little bait caster, I just hit the button and let the line go. Count to 5, 6, 7, 8, and slowly and he's there, right? Everybody I take, as soon as I get jerk, I'm like, oh man, like I did it for 4 years, but man, I enjoy guiding ducks hunt, SeaDuck hunt, duck hunts, brant, waterfowl hunting. I did not enjoy guiding fish people. Just didn't.
I have a close friend. He comes from Gloucester, Virginia, not a great distance from you in a straight line. And Mike Nicely. He showed up here, and he's coming up this year to just do some fun fishing with. I'm always telling him maybe a story or two. It might be exaggerated, and he doesn't know when I'm telling the truth or not. I'm always playing jokes on him. Well, we're out there one day, and I'm talking about flounder and halibut, and I said, both eyes are on one side of his body, and he's like, bull crap. And he's because I've got him on the run, so I play it on, and finally we get back to the lodge, and I bring it up again, and everybody in the room starts laughing because obviously, as you know, I was telling the truth. Mm-hmm. And he finally had to pull a picture out, and he's going, "You son of a gun, you got me again."
That is a good one. I just got dew all over me.
That's all right.
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm doing myself.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, we need to. I'll get you. We'll hook up about talking fishing one time.
And no problem.
I just had something. Oh well, I'm going to do a shameless plug before I end this. If that's all right.
Go for it.
It's going to be, today is July 14th. Next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. It's going to be the first Grip It and Rip It live. We're going to go on Zoom live, Karen and I, and it is free. All you need to do is get the link. First off, Rod, I will put your links down below here on YouTube. I'll put it here, as well as, well, not all the podcast formats I can put links, but definitely if anybody's watched this on YouTube, your link will be first thing below, and then the second thing below, I'll have the link to the Zoom link meeting, the live for the first live Grip It and Rip It. So that's my little shameless plug. Karen got on me the other day because I did something and I never even mentioned the grip it and sip it. Did I say grip it and rip it? Grip it and sip it. So
there you
that's
go.
Happening. That's happening. That's happening next Tuesday, July 19th. So any last closing comments you would like to say?
Well, it's a pleasure, and it was a pleasure being with a legend in the industry. He really is, and you're a gentleman. And from the first day we met, there seemed to be some connection there, and I think we've got some lifelong friendship. And I appreciate being on your show.
Well, Rod, I appreciate you, and I tell everybody when I tell the story of the duck order, you're right in the story. You're right in all of my duck boat stories. You're right in the mix there. So. Captain Rod Merritt, eiderpro.com. Appreciate your time, man. Episode 38 of the Pitboss podcast is done. As always, thinking of you, we are.